It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
We will make changes.
It is our duty to
It is our duty to
We must love and support.
we must love.
Does the mayor still plan to spend this money in the same way following this announcement? And if so, why does he think he has the authority?
We have nothing to lose.
I've been here every day.
We have nothing to lose but our
But
chance.
our chains.
with our chains.
But our chains.
And we want to welcome everyone here. We want to thank everyone for coming out, stopping what you were doing to come to make a difference in a world that needs you. Let us all pray. Father God, it's in your name that we come together on Good Friday to realize and to recognize who we belong to. Father, we just thank you right now for every family that's represented in this room, that we will be able to bring our men back into the homes so that they can lead us in the right way. Now, God, as each one of us are here, search our hearts. God, let us be right. Let us do it right. Let Nan be an example of what we can do when we come together on one accord. Let them be examples of what the love of God and the sweet communion of the Holy Spirit can do when we lay aside every weight and sin that so easily beset us. Now, God, bless this meeting.
Thank you, Lord.
Let us all be represented
That's right.
like you want us to be represented.
Amen.
In the holy name of Jesus, we do all pray.
Glory to God.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. At this time, I would like for any of our board members that are here, I see our Vice President, Robert Martin, over there against the wall. Raise your hand. Our Secretary, Gracie Lewis, did not make it this evening. Again, I'm your president. Are there any other NAN members that are here? Please stand up if you are presently a NAN member. Willie Little is chair of our Youth Empowerment Committee. Any other NAN members? We have a past Vice President, Minister Monica just walked into the house. Sister Carolyn Wilson. Raise your hand if you're a member. Hey, there you go with the Black Power sign in the back. I hear you. Go. There you go. All right. And Sister Vernay, who is Executive Director of the Human Relations Commission, a very faithful member. Pays her membership on time every year, same time, every year. She comes after me. So that's wonderful. Yes, Sister, there you go, Robert Martin's better half there. Rita Martin, a member of the Hospitality Committee. I don't want to omit anybody. Please raise your hand if you're a member of NAN, if you've been a past officer of NAN or a current officer of NAN. We're hoping that Pastor James Elliott will be coming soon. He's had some health issues, so hopefully he'll be able to make it with us tonight. All right. I hope I haven't omitted anyone. All right. With that being said, I would like to introduce, our moderator of the evening, Sister Queen Rhonda Mathies, well-known Louisville activist. If you're on Facebook, you can't miss her. She's on there every day. She lets you know where she is and what issues that are pertinent to all of us in our community, both locally, regionally, and nationally. So she very much humbly agreed to be our moderator for this evening. We also have Greg Titchener over here, who's in charge of the Education Committee and also membership, and he's a wonderful soul. Most of you all know Greg is out there in the audience. He works with everybody's organization. I don't know about that. All right, and so Rhonda Mathies is a wonderful individual. If there's an issue, here comes Pastor coming in now. It's got Vice President of the National Action Network. Take your seat. Take your seat. All right, you're doing better. You're just 5 minutes short. Doing better. All right. So without any further delay, we are going to begin this discussion. If Councilman Baker happens to walk in, he can take this seat right here. We'll keep right on moving. Keep on trucking. All right. At this time, I'm going to turn it on over to you.
Thank you,
Queen
Kathleen.
Rhonda, you're welcome.
This is a great turnout. I'm glad it's being televised on live stream. Some people can't make it, but you're representative of what the community wants to hear from, how you want to represent them in a seat, to be their voice. And for some, either you're going to be in or you out or come on May 21st. So we're going to be timely as far as with the questions. We have someone with a timer, or he's going to hit the gavel to let me know the time is up, because you have 1 minute with 60 seconds in it, and that's all you want to get. So think about how you answer. You will say, well, can I get back to that? No, because we have a lot of people, and we want to get much information that we can to let people make the choices for the candidate they want to support in this election, because this election is very important to our community. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the first question is, and I will start with ladies first. Tell us your name and some personal background information about yourself.
Good evening, and thank you to Dan for hosting this event tonight. My name is Kate Dittmeyer-Holm. I am running here in District 6, and I have lived in District 6 for a long time. I live in the Old Louisville neighborhood, and I've been an attorney for the last 15 years. I started out as a public defender. I was a public defender for a total of 7.5 years, and I worked later as an immigration attorney. And having worked in the criminal legal system, in the immigration system, I walked with clients who were in systems that didn't work for them, systems that weren't designed to work for them. And so I got curious about the issues that I was seeing over and over again, and I got my education doing that work and having relationships with people and learning more about the root causes of issues. And that makes me want to be a policymaker, a legislator for District 6. So that's why I'm running, because I want to make better systems that work for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank National Action Network for putting this on. Thank you for being the first people to reach out and schedule a forum. It's no secret that I do a lot of canvassing. I do that because I believe that it's important, it's vital for building people power, that we go and we speak to the voters, that we are frank and honest about our policy positions, about our politics, because that is the only way we're going to build power, it's the only way we're going to build movement. My name is J.P. Lininger, I'm a Democratic Socialist, I'm an organizer, and I am proud to be a movement candidate running here in District 6 to build power for the working class here in Louisville, something that's sorely needed. Like I said, I'm an organizer. I've been organizing with DSA for years. Before that, I was working in the community on anti-racist organizing, doing stuff with Food Not Bombs, things like that. I got involved working for Robert Bell's campaign when he ran for Metro Council and then later for state representative. And that really changed my life. Because I really saw that the people of Louisville are ready for change, the people of Louisville are hungry and ready to build a city that is for everyone. We don't have that right now.
10 seconds.
And I am very proud to be here and to hopefully be a representative for the people of District 6 and build that people power.
Tony, before you address the question, each candidate has 60 seconds to respond. And thank you for being here.
Of course. I apologize. I'm here in Councilman Baker's place as he is with his son who is sick tonight. However, and of course that happens because I know both of you know with your families. With that said, Councilman Baker was appointed last year in February to the open seat that was held by David James when he resigned, and then elected in November of that year by the people of the district. And now, as you know, we are up for this primary for the 4-year election. That's why we're having this election. For those who don't know, Councilman Baker is a Family Resource Center Coordinator at Coleridge Taylor Elementary over by Central High School. He's a young father of 3 children over living in Old Louisville, where his family has helped quite a few different people, and he's lived there for quite a while now. Councilman Baker has worked very, very hard alongside a number of the neighborhood groups to try and help what the folks are asking for in the district. There are quite a few projects that are ongoing, quite a few things that are happening now, and quite a few things that we've been able to accomplish, thankfully, with everybody's help. But it's about really you, and it's about listening to your needs. What exactly you're asking for, not necessarily what those of us who are up here on this stage are asking
10 seconds.
for. With that said, Councilman Baker asks for your vote and your support.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next questions, ladies first. Why are you running for public office, and more importantly, for Metro Council?
I'm running for public office and specifically for Metro Council because local government is what touches people's lives most directly. It's everything from potholes and sidewalks and your trash getting picked up to local legislation, housing policy, anti-discrimination ordinances. These are the things that touch people's lives most directly. I'm also running because I think this district needs a representative that personally shows up and who is here and listening to the people in the community, who has relationships. This is a diverse district. It's 9 neighborhoods. It includes Park Hill, Algonquin, Old Louisville, and goes all the way over to the east to Parristown Point. It's very diverse. There are a lot of different types of issues in the neighborhoods, and a lot of them are the same. But I think it's really important to have a council person who shows up to meetings and listens to the community and is here, and that's the kind of representative that I want to be.
Thank you.
I'm running for office because I want to build the people power that is inherent in the multiracial working class here in Louisville, that's inherent and latent. We do not have leadership that is listening to the working class here in Louisville, doesn't care about the needs of the people, and we have to change that. I tell people I'm not magic, I don't have a magic wand. Nothing I'm going to do by myself is going to accomplish anything, but I want to go out and I want to build the people power in District 6 and then beyond through the rest of Louisville for us to transform this city and make it a city that is built for the many, not the few, put the needs of the working class on the agenda for the first time, in my opinion, and rebuild this city in a way that benefits the people who are currently badly neglected. I believe, I go out and canvass, I talk to people all the time. I talk to them about the budget. I talk to them about the issues that Louisville is facing. Everyone I talk to is completely capable of understanding the budget. Everyone I talk to is completely capable of understanding the problems they have in their neighborhood and understand the solutions, and that those solutions start with the needs of the people and the voice of the people. I believe in the power of the working class. I believe in participatory democracy. I want to expand democracy in our lives. That's why I'm running.
So Councilman Baker, I actually asked him this question. One of the first things I asked him when he was appointed was, why did you seek this seat? And he told me that it was many of the same reasons that they've actually, our friends over here, have talked about. Local government is the closest touch point to people. A lot of people have questions and things that they ask that commonly end up in state and federal government, but local government, the potholes, the street lights, the violence, the positive things that happen in our parks really touch you. And that was his reason. He said, I want to make the changes and help make those changes in District 6. It's a district that is diverse. It has a lot of diverse needs. And that was his reason. Along with that,
10 seconds.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Those needs are something that we've been trying to tackle, and just like our friend JP said, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, but we are working on it.
Thank you. Okay, next question for each of you. Have you ever ran for public office or served in public office before?
No, I have not served in public office before. This is my first time running, though I did seek the appointment when the seat was open last year, and I was part of the Emerge Kentucky class of 2023 to prepare myself to run for office. So yes, this is my first time running.
This is also my first time running. I was the treasurer for Robert Livertisfeld when he ran for state representative, when he ran for Metro Council. And I was the campaign manager for him when he ran for state representative. I was also the co-manager of the Kentucky Access for All No on 2 campaign against the anti-abortion amendment that was on the ballot in 2022. Very proud to have done our small part to help defeat that. But more importantly, it was the people of Kentucky that rejected that. And I am proud of the people of Kentucky about that as well. I did not seek the appointment.
10 seconds.
In fact, I asked Robert to run. Robert asked me to run. Robert said, I can't do it. I want you to do it. Here I am.
Councilman Baker is obviously the sitting councilman, so yes, he has been elected. He did seek the appointment and achieve that. Before that, he did seek state representative office a few years prior. And with that said, I agree with many of the things that JP said there. It is great to have our friends here as challengers and as candidates so that people have choices and it keeps the sitting incumbents fresh. They should have to answer questions like this.
Thank you. Okay, the next question for each of you. If you could change one thing in your community, what would it be?
If I could change one thing, it would be that there would be enough shelter space for anyone. We wouldn't have anybody who lived on the street and didn't want to. So in our city last year, when the count was done for people who were living outside, there were 581 more people who were living outside than there were shelter beds. And on any given night in this city, there were 12 to 15 families who were on the waiting list because they can't find shelter space. That has to change. We have a moral obligation to make sure that people have a place to go, to be safe, and to not have to live on the street. I would change, that's one of my priorities, to address affordable housing, to address evictions, to address the lack of shelter space and services, and to make sure that
10 seconds.
To make sure that no one has to live outside, because I believe it's our moral obligation to take care of that.
Also, before we get to the next question, we will be taking a few questions from the audience. A few. So just raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question of District 4, okay? District 6.
Okay, go ahead.
So what I would like to change is the budget. The budget is a moral and political document. It's a test every year of what our priorities are, what we care about, who we care about. Every year Louisville fails that test. We have doubled what we spend on police since we merged the city and the county 20 years ago. Raise your hand if you feel like we've got results commensurate with that, if things are going great with our public safety, with how much we spend on police. I don't feel that way either. The truth is, we have strangled our services as we have chased spending more and more on police. Community centers, after school and summer programs for kids, jobs programs for teenagers, swimming pools in the summer, things we used to have that are gone because we don't spend enough on our community as we chase spending more on policing. We just gave $114 million of future revenues to Jefferson Development Group to build luxury high-rise condominiums in the Highlands. They don't need help selling real estate in the Highlands. The people's money needs to be spent on the people's needs.
10 seconds.
That's what we need to change.
you know, those are both excellent things that need assistance and things that our office and other offices in the council are working on. But the primary thing of any local government must be public safety. So the one thing that we have taken on that we need to change is gun violence. Gun violence in this city is an epidemic. It claims lives every single day. Someone today, tonight, will die from gun violence, unfortunately. With that said, we're trying to push forward with what the state legislature has allowed for us to do that. It's very limited, but we are working on that, and that is the one thing that we need to change in this city. Whether it's the perspective of those who have the guns, whether it is the amount of guns, or whether it's the use of the guns.
Thank you. And that was a good segue into our other two candidates, because that was my next question. I'm sure you are aware, Louisville has a gun violence problem. From your perspective, why are so many youth involved in gun violence, resulting in homicide? And what do you plan to do once you are elected to office?
So gun violence is an issue that I have worked on for quite some time. Before I was a candidate, I was a mom demanding action. Gun violence is an issue that's personal to my family because my husband is a gun violence survivor. That was a mass shooting situation, but the daily gun violence that we face in this city every day is far and away the type of gun violence that needs the most attention and action. So addressing gun violence is a priority for me. I think one of the reasons that, and thinking about this as a person who's worked in the criminal legal system as an attorney, I think that one of the reasons is because we have cut services. We have cut community centers, we have cut youth programs, we have cut the types of support services and we are awash in guns. We have gun laws that are so lax that we are awash in guns, and so it's easy access. And so I would address.
Thank you.
So yeah, gun violence has touched my family. My cousin was one of the people who was shot in the mass shooting at Chickasaw Park last spring. I think it's kind of, and this isn't anything about what Kate just said, because I don't think she feels this way, but it is strange that we don't really think of what happened in Chickasaw Park as a mass shooting, right? Absolutely. We kind of think of that as normal. That's what these people are supposed to experience.
Absolutely.
You know, just like I said about the budget, just like Kate said, she's right. We are not serving the youth of our city, and we are surprised that when we don't give them places to be, where they are safe, where they have positive influences in their lives, where they've got mentorship, and then we just put them out on the street and they're raised by the streets, we're surprised at the results. We shouldn't be surprised at those results. That's what's gonna happen when we do not invest in our youth. Kids can't even go to the mall anymore without being in trouble, all right? We have to change that. And that is something we've got to do, because when my cousin was shot, it was a young person that shot him. We do have to change these things.
Is under a consent decree. Oh, well, you sort of answered. You want to answer again? Okay.
Councilman Baker agrees with those, but it's not about what Councilman Baker thinks. Studies that have been locally show that this is a systemic problem. It's not something that can be easily fixed. It is related to the services we offer. It is related to our youth and what opportunities or lack of opportunities they have. A lot of it is related, quite frankly, to the lack of connection that our youth have to the services that exist. I want to applaud the Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods, OSHN, because they are out doing that hard work, trying to connect youth and neighborhoods to metro government and agencies with services. But we need more, and we're trying very hard to achieve that. With that said, our friends here talked a lot about that they want to make the change. They didn't speak about how.
That's it.
The councilman is out there actually making these changes. One of the big ones that you're gonna see announced tomorrow is an investment in the Park Hill Community Center, a historic investment. One that hasn't been done as far as I ever know.
10 seconds.
That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, as you are aware, Louisville is under a consent decree with the LMPD. Once elected, how will you deal with this issue, and are you willing to work across party lines in partnership with LMPD to solve these problems?
Yes, I'm very familiar with the 90-page DOJ report and the issues in them. As a criminal defense attorney and a person who has worked on the issue of police misconduct, I think it is imperative that we address this issue. And it's not something that we can do without working across lines, without building coalitions and finding agreement, because police misconduct, police distrust makes our communities less safe. And so it's extremely important to address the issue, and the way that I would do that, we have a consent decree that's being negotiated between the Department of Justice and the mayor's office. The community has not had an opportunity to be involved with that, and I think that is critical for the community to be involved, and so I will continue to push for community involvement on input with that.
10 seconds.
And so to ensure that the mayor's office does the right thing, and then to make sure that the police abide by those reforms and the things that are in the consent decree when it is finally resolved.
I want to know what there is to negotiate. Why are we negotiating about this consent decree? The Department of Justice report was damning about the history of police abuse, the history of racial discrimination in the city of Louisville. I don't know what there's to negotiate. I support Shamika Parish Wright's People's Consent Decree. I was at that press conference. I know that Kate was as well. What we need to do is to have a police department that understands they serve the people of Louisville, not the other way around. We have an FOP contract that is negotiated in secret, that is wrong. All of our Metro employee contracts should be negotiated openly, but especially the FOP contract. That is a change that must happen. And frankly, I think that there is a little bit of a feeling that the Metro Council would rather that be the mayor's problem than theirs. We need to change that. We need to take responsibility. We need to have real leadership in Louisville.
The consent decree was damning. It is evidence of the systemic problems from Metro Police that have been going on for years in this community. And it is something that we need to keep a careful watch over. I was in New Orleans when we were negotiating the consent decree down there. It was a very, very complex negotiation, and the reason it's a negotiation is because these are real things that will happen in Louisville, that will be mandated, and we have to take a look at what we're doing and what the government, the federal government, has oversight over Metro Louisville and as far as the actions that can be taken. There needs to be change in Metro Police. This isn't a secret. Councilman Baker supports those changes. He's been working with Chief Villarreal and the mayor on this, and hopefully we will see something soon.
Thank you. Okay. In 2019, Councilman Ja'Cory Arthur led the way to filing a resolution in support at H.R. 40, the study of reparations. How are you in favor of supporting an ordinance that supports economic reparations plan for descendants of enslaved blacks or descendants of slaves of Louisville, Kentucky? Why or why not?
Wow, very good.
So a lot of the current problems that we have in the city stem from the systemic racism and structural racism in this city. This was done intentionally, and we have a responsibility to make amends for that, for the ongoing injustice and the past injustices. I'm in favor of reparations. I think that we haven't compensated people for what happened and for the loss of economic opportunities, for the loss of opportunity to build generational wealth. And so, yes, I think that it is absolutely something, it is one way that we can address it. I think there are lots of other ways that we have a responsibility to address.
10 seconds.
To address the racial and economic injustices that have happened in this community, again, that were intentional and that are ongoing to this day. So that's where I stand on that.
I support reparations. I've supported resolutions in DSA at the national level to work towards reparations and organizing. I support reparations from the state. I support reparations from the federal government. We are not free of our original sin of our founding. We will not be until the descendants of slaves are made whole, until we reckon with the harms that we caused in our society. I'm for reparations, full stop.
Yay!
Like our friends, Councilman Baker is also in support of reparations. The question becomes what form that should take. Should it be solely direct payments, or should it be additional items like solving systemic redlining that has happened with homeownership, addressing banking discrimination that has happened in this city. There's quite a few things that have stemmed from racism in Louisville. And it's time, far past time, for this to be addressed, not only by metro government, but by state and federal government. But it starts here, and it's time for this to happen.
Okay, now I will be taking some questions from the audience. I am a U of L student who struggled to go to the grocery store before I got a car. What will the candidates do to address the fact that District 6 is a food desert?
Yes, it is a food desert. I remember when we've had in Old Louisville, where there were 2 grocery stores that have closed since I moved into the neighborhood in 2005. There are, across the district, we don't have, in every single neighborhood, we don't have fresh food and access to fresh food, and so that's a priority to create fresh food. We have a farmer's market that's opening in Old Louisville. I would like to see more farmer's markets open as a start, right? But we need brick and mortar grocery stores, because for people who have cars or reliable transportation, it's inconvenient. For people who don't, it's a crisis. I've talked with people who can't walk to the grocery store, who are wheelchair bound, cannot get out. And
10 seconds, please.
So we have to look at all the options, not just working with developers and seeing about developing properties, but also looking at co-op models, any way that we can, through government-owned property and putting in stores that way. We have to look at all options on the table because it's absolutely a priority.
This is part of my platform. You can find it in the lit that I take to the doors everywhere across the district. We have people here who have my literature with my platform on it. I support a municipally run grocery store in District 6. Like Kate said, we do not have a grocery store anywhere in our district. When Kroger left 2nd Street, they said that store was profitable. It just wasn't profitable enough. I don't think that the people of our district or the people in the rest of West Louisville that don't have access to fresh food should be dependent on the whims of corporate profits on whether or not they receive that fresh food. This is a program that works in Kansas. This is a program that works in Florida. It's not pie in the sky. It's not imaginary. We can have a municipally run grocery store system and serve our neighbors and give them access to food. Like Kate said, when we don't have enough public transportation, TARC had stops and routes taken away during the austerity budget. That is a huge problem with access to fresh food. We have to bring the fresh food to the neighborhoods.
Our friend covered quite a few things there. The municipal grocery idea is an interesting idea. It is one that the councilman believes would push government, especially local government, into an area that should be covered by private industry. it is something that private industry has covered in this city and can cover again. We are working with a developer and a vendor right now to build a grocery in the Park Hill, Algonquin neighborhoods. This is something that we're hoping will be funded in the Metro budget coming up, and we will see how that all works out. But it is imperative that we try and get access to fresh food, ideally local food, in all of our neighborhoods. We've also worked with Kroger, actually, to provide what is called the Healthy Start program. This provides food delivery from Kroger for completely free to those families that have small and young children. So it's about looking also at what has been done as well as what is to be done.
Thank you. Okay,
Sister Rhonda, I just want to, remind people of the time. We're going to take a couple more questions, and then we're going to go by 7:15. We're going to move to District 4. Okay?
Okay, my next question from an audience member: how would you specifically address gun violence? Divided 3-point plan. What would be your 3-point plan in addressing gun violence? This comes from Ms. Monica.
I appreciate the chance to talk about this again because I ran out of time before. So the first is making sure that there's a permanent source of funding for the Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods. They are doing important gun violence prevention work and everything from stop the bleed trainings, gun locks, addressing this as the public health crisis that it is, because that's what gun violence is. So it was finally funded for the first time recently using ARP money. Those federal dollars are going to go away, so finding a permanent source of funding and making sure that it is funded every year and that it is robustly funded, because what we don't want to do is say we tried it as a half measure and it didn't work and to stop funding it.
10 seconds.
The second thing is to work with state legislators and federal legislators on gun legislation, because that's where our gun laws are made. At the local level, our hands are tied in making more strict gun laws, and so working with legislators at those levels is really important to make that happen.
We do need tougher gun laws. I'm supportive of those. Unfortunately, it's a tough hill to climb here in the state of Kentucky, but again, we beat an anti-abortion amendment. I think that organizing doesn't rely on what's happened, it's what's possible. So yes, we do need stricter gun laws. We do need to fund the Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods. Talking about Stop the Bleed training, my wife there in the back just did Stop the Bleed. She's a med student at U of L. That was this week, actually. But again, it comes back to rebuilding our communities. Our communities are extremely, extremely neglected. Rebuilding our services for youth, connecting the youth to those services. I agree with what Tony said about that. We do have a problem with connecting people with the services that are already offered. But generally speaking, we need to improve the quality of life throughout Louisville. Take away these crimes of desperation, take away these feelings of hopelessness that lead to violence in our neighborhoods. We have to be there for our youth in every way. That is the number one thing that we have the power to change and must change.
So, our friends didn't really answer the question. What are the 3 things that you're gonna do in Metro government to stop gun violence? Number 1, the councilman is working to implement a gun buyback program, the first in many years in this city. Number 2, the councilman is also working to increase community center staffing and the pay for those community center staff. That has been a problem that the Metro Parks leadership has identified as to how the community centers are operating, and we've asked the mayor to do that in this year's Metro budget. Number 3, again, we need to make the connections, and Ocean is doing that, the Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods, between the community and the organizations that are already out there doing the work. Those are the 3 things.
Thank you. How do you feel about NDF being used for law enforcement?
Neighborhood development funds.
Yes, neighborhood development funds. I'm not in favor of using neighborhood development funds for law enforcement. I know that Councilman Baker just allocated $10,000 from NDF funds at the last committee meeting for police overtime. I'm not really sure why it was NDF funds are being used when we have so many needs in our neighborhoods. Police overtime is funded. Police and corrections make up 40% of our budget. So NDF funds, which are $150,000 per council person, should be used for the important projects in the community. And we have lots of needs, as you know, in our communities. They should be used for that, not for police overtime. I feel very strongly about that.
Yes, I'm opposed. I talk about this everywhere that I go. I talk about this at neighborhood association meetings in Old Louisville. I don't change my message depending on my audience. I am opposed to using the discretionary budget of the council member to increase police overtime pay, to increase police spending in the district. We spend enough on police. The problems are not that we are spending not enough on police. That's not the case. We need to improve our district, improve the quality of life for people, just the things I've been talking about. I will not. I just won't.
So two things there. One, NDF funds are not 150,000, they're actually 100,000 each year. Two, the people of Old Louisville will be interested to hear your all's responses on that because it was a direct request from the Old Louisville Neighborhood Association. They had asked for increased police presence in their neighborhood. This was our way of achieving that. While there is overtime allocated each year in the metro budget, that overtime is not specific. So when a council person allocates neighborhood development funds because it is a law, it is an ordinance, we can specifically say, and did, that it is for increased patrols in the Old Louisville and Limerick neighborhoods. And that's what was done. The major in that area came back and said we were able to specifically use these dollars to capture folks that were doing items, specifically package theft and drugs, in the Old Louisville and Limerick neighborhoods. And that's a big issue to those residents. So we did what we asked. We're asked to do.
Second.
Also, it was a campaign promise from last fall. I think fulfilling your campaign promises is important. So we did.
Thank you. Okay, what would you do to help the systemic jail prison reform?
What, to address the...
Prison reforms in the jails. It's been a lot, we've lost people, suicides, so people, and they want to build a new jail. So what is your take on that?
So the jail that we have was built as an office building and was retrofitted. And so when the jail death started, there was a lot of talk about needing a new building because the deaths were happening. But if you look at the leading up to that time in the 20 years before, there weren't any. What was happening there were that it was not being managed well. There were a lot of things happening within the jail, and when they got a new director and implemented new policies and stricter policies, those jail deaths plummeted back to what they had been before. So I think management of our jail is critically important. I would want to know more about the issues in the jail as to whether we truly need a new jail, because when we build jails, we incentivize more incarceration, and I think we want to be really careful about incentivizing incarceration and taking on that kind of debt that would incentivize that. So I think jail management is really important, and making sure that we are keeping people out of jail through other policies and services.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that building a new jail needs to be the focus of our government with the budget that we have. We need to stop trying to chase wresting our way out of the problems that we have. Again, I'm not saying that we have an issue of, We've got to get rid of the police. I'm not talking about that. You know, there's the old joke about why rob banks, that's where the money is. That's where the money is LMPD and corrections right now. We cannot spend more. We have doubled what we spend since we merged the city and the county 20 years ago. We cannot spend more on policing and corrections. We've got to figure out other solutions. We need better management. We need much better training. We need people in the jails who are more concerned with the health and the safety of the prisoners. They don't stop being human beings just because they're locked up. A lot of people are sitting there waiting for their time before the justice system. We do not need to be treating them like animals. We need to be treating them like human beings. That's how you stop deaths in the jail.
Let me be really specific here. Councilman Baker does not support building a new jail. Stop. It's that simple. As our friends were saying, it is important to look at the other issues, but one of the most important issues, and we've talked about this all night, is the reason folks end up in jail. What are we doing in our community to stop the people and the direct-to-jail pipeline? We have to stop folks from ending up there. Does the jail have issues? Absolutely. We applaud Director Collins for the work that he's been doing to solve a number of those issues, specifically related around drugs in the jail. But we need to stop people from getting there in the first place. And that's important. That's what we need to be spending that money on.
Thank you, each candidate, for sharing your thoughts and giving people information as far as who will they vote for. You each were very candid and forthcoming. We appreciate the time you took to come here to be with the community. And at this time, I know all questions were not given, but it will be the next round because we have to cut this off and we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then our next candidates from the 4th district will take a seat.
Thank you.
Don't do the right thing they taught me to do. Stand up for family. Fight back. But you've been in the perspective for too long.
They don't expect that. We're not gonna have our kids marching. This is it.
Once and for all!
Justice for Patrick! Justice for Patrick! Justice for Patrick! As a black man, I stand up for black women.
I don't want to say another motherfucking name! Kanye Jordan! 400 years later, not a damn thing changed!
I stand up for black women because it's what I'm supposed to do.
It's all one fight. The same people that suppress the vote, they'll suppress your living rate.
It's standing up for freedom, a freedom that knows action, a love that is in action.
Like
Enough is enough!
I'm not sleeping and I'm not done until we get justice.
Ain't no curling, people don't stop.
Where's got to go? Hey! Where's got to go?
Why is everybody, why is the police fighting against us, but they're supposed to be helping us? That doesn't make sense.
If black women don't do it, then it don't get done. That's what I'm hearing.
When I say gun, you say no.
Don't forget what we did today. Today is history. Don't just go home and say, hey, let me post it. Live it. We just have to be stubborn enough. We just have to be strong enough. We just have to be relentless. Black lives. Black lives. Thank you all. I pass the mic to the next person. Black women matter.
The lights of Kentucky Performing Arts shine on more than our shows. They illuminate a pathway of discovery for all throughout our Commonwealth. A pathway of creativity, confidence, possibility, of brilliance, inspiration, curiosity, and wonder. For 40 years, Kentucky Performing Arts has led a pathway to unite the Commonwealth around the joy of discovering the arts, and will continue to shine this light far into the future.
We're going to do another roll call. If you could take your seats for the second half of our candidate forum. We had a successful first half with District 6, and now we are about to embark on the second half, interviewing candidates for District 4. We're going to do a quick attendance again. If you're here, just raise your hand. Ken Herman, Denisha Rivers, Stan Moore, Barry Hall, Demetrius M. McDowell, Dino Johnson, Joseph Dahmer, Bobby James,
I see what you
in the fantastic quartet. Bridget Smith, Joshua Crowder, Carol Clark. We may have had a couple of withdrawals, I'm not sure.
Can people say their names as they answer questions when we first get started?
Well, they introduced themselves on the first question.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Madam Moderator.
Okay, glad those who were able to stay, you still heard the others who had to leave. But let's continue on because this is information that we need to hear from the candidates. How will they be the people's voice if they are elected? And our first business is we need to know something about them. So Jordan, will you start or we'll just go on down the line? Tell us your name and some brief personal background information.
Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Jody Dahmer. I am a candidate for Metro Council District 4. The main priorities for me in District 4 are to make safer roads for our elderly and our children who do not have access to a vehicle, to allow permanent spaces for urban agriculture in every single community that is not being able to be taken away by Metro on a whim. And the third most important piece is we need to have fresh and clean food in every neighborhood. While this urban agriculture spread is happening with medical cannabis, we cannot just have it be about one crop if we have the infrastructure to feed entire families.
10 seconds.
Thank you for your time.
Good evening, my name is Bridget Smith. I'm born and raised in Louisville, started out in Portland, moved to 22nd and Grand where my mother still lives. I graduated of Seneca High School, couldn't afford to go to college, so I started working at Ford Motor Company. I got my bachelor's degree, went up through management, got my master's degree, and moved on to another company who moved me to Seattle, Vegas, and Canada, which I had some really positive learning experiences from different cultures and how labor relations works in other countries and cities.
Right.
Hello, I'm Carol Clark. I live in the California community. I lived there for 35 years. I have a barbershop also in the same community, California, called California Cuts. I have worked tirelessly and fought tirelessly for my communities, especially the California community. We had a black man get drowned at 15th and Oak under the underpass. It was dark. Nobody thought it was important enough to look into that situation, so I had to fight to get lights up under 15. So when I work tirelessly, I work for every community within our district. It's just not California community. I work tirelessly.
10 seconds.
I also was on the campaign for no methane in our residence, and we worked tirelessly for that.
Very good.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Denisha Rivers, and I'm running for Metro Council District 4. I have been involved in healthcare for over 20-something years and been involved heavily in community activism and community engagement, and I advocate for young people and homeless families. I run my own nonprofit organization. I am a member, of course, as you see, at NAN and also the National Political Women's Organization here in Louisville, Kentucky. I am an ambassador for Office of Women. Out of 400 applicants, I've been chosen one of the 24. Then also I am an ambassador for Ocean, a youth ambassador. So this is what I do. This is what I love to do. This is I invest a lot of my time doing this on daily. And 3 of the initiatives that I would like to make sure that I continue doing is community health, economy, and also safety.
Hello, my name is Ken Herndon. I'm also a candidate for District 4. If you don't know where the district is, it runs from 32nd Street to near Leesworth Avenue, all along the river, and zigzags back and forth and then along Broadway. Includes part of Parkland, California, Russell, downtown, Smoketown, Butchertown, Nulu, Phoenix Hills, and Clifton Heights. It is by far, I believe, the most diverse economically and demographic district in the city. It's going to take someone who can serve the entire area equally and fairly. I believe I'm that person. I've been doing this kind of work in the leadership of 3 different neighborhood associations over the years, businesses. I was the original co-director of the Fairness Campaign 30 years ago, and have done work in the community for many, many years, and would like to continue to do the same thing as your councilman. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua Crowder. I'm originally from the Algonquin neighborhood, currently a Russell resident. I went to school at Northwestern University where I studied urban politics, politics of international law. And I've been an organizer for the last 10 plus years, beginning in racial justice, organizing with the Black Youth Project in Chicago, climate justice with the Sunrise Movement, where I helped to author our Just Transition language in the Green New Deal. Also in labor recently at UPS. I'm a co-founder of our Teamsters Local 89 Futures Committee, and it was through our work at UPS that led to the winning of our recent contract fight, which turned into $30 billion of wealth that was taken from the company and given back into the hands of the workers who created it. And I'm also a Democratic Socialist running in District 4.
My name is Mary Hall. I am running for District 4. I live in the California neighborhood. I have worked tirelessly in the California neighborhood. I got my property back that was taken in the California neighborhood in a questionable way. I work along with my seniors. I have a grocery store for children. I started the Descendants of the California neighborhood. It's 56 of us. We do a lot of stuff in the California neighborhood, along with in Russell, Shawnee. We have a job program where we work the children with their parents because we can only work the children for 4 hours because they started at 13 years old. So with that, being said, with the community, that's what we do to bring the community back together. We need to bring the communities back together.
Good evening. My name is Stan Moore. I'm from Metro Council District 4. I was born and raised in Louisville. I am a product of the Jefferson County school system. I went to the University of Louisville, albeit it took me 13 years to get a 4-year degree due to working through school. Civically, I serve currently on the Louisville Downtown Partnership. I chair what's known as Louisville Downtown Management District. I also run a soup kitchen called the Community Kitchen. We serve about 60,000 meals a year. My beliefs are that in this community we have a lot of divided community that we need to work on bringing together. And should I be elected, I will go to sleep and lay my head down every night on the fact that everybody counts or nobody counts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, your next question. Why are you running for public office and more importantly, for the Metro Council seat?
So, again, Jody Dahmer. I am running for Metro Council specifically because I've seen firsthand that there are laws and ordinances that are still on the books in Metro Louisville that actively ban farming, foraging, and other food production services on zoned land. For about 90 years from the 1930s up until March of 2022, shotgun neighborhoods across Louisville actually were banned from having plants higher than 10 inches tall if the code enforcer thought it looked like a weed. After not paying fines, eventually that could turn into house liens and eventually somebody else seizing that property. I know that that weeds ordinance is not the only ordinance that is on the books, and I want to do everything I can during my 4 years in office to feed families and communities, and specifically fund community centers where food can be found. Thank you.
Bridget Smith. I decided to run for Metro Council, moving back here after being gone for a little over 8 years to the city that I didn't love, that I wasn't what I left. It was far worse. So talking to entrepreneurial friends, talking to family, especially my mother, and researching things that were happening, a lot of it was tied to Metro Council. So I started attending Metro Council's, first I read their policies and procedures, and then I attended Zoom meetings. Then I followed by meetings in person to see what they were doing. Learned a lot, especially about the disrespect for constituents who took a whole lot for them to come forward in front of Metro Council, and certain Metro Council members being disrespectful in the sense of on their phones, eating, walking around, talking. So that really bothered me, and it just kind of validated the fact that I needed to do something, and I needed to do something now. And I made that commitment 22 months ago.
All right.
I'm running for council because I want a seat at the table. I want a seat at the table when it comes to making decisions that I have to live by, what the community has to live by. So that gives me an opportunity to work for the communities within District 6. I want to be able to say that we are striving for better. And the only way that I can strive for better is to have a seat at the table.
All right.
I decided to run for Metro Council because I'm sick and tired like everyone else is sick and tired. I'm just gonna be honest and frank. It is time for a new trusted face of leadership in Metro Council, and some things that have been going on has not been working for the families and the best interests of this city and our neighborhoods. That is the reason why I'm for Metro Council, because I want to be a part of the process. I want to be able to pass policies and laws that work for the people and not for the greed and power. And that's why I'm running, because spaces, especially black faces and spaces, need to be in these arenas to make sure that someone has a voice, a power, to make sure that we stand up for what is wrong and make it make sense. So that's why I'm running for Metro Council.
What you see on TV is not what the Metro Council does. What a good councilman does, I believe, is what's on the ground. Makes a difference on your street, on your block, the details of the job. The foundation of my service will be that I will be a full-time councilman. If you don't know, it's technically a part-time job. Most of the people on council have a full-time job. I will quit my job and make it my full-time responsibility. I will also promise for a 2 working day turnaround answer for any emails or phone calls that come in, because I want to have that constant contact with folks. There's a saying that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. I believe in listening and partnerships with our constituents, and when I've been walking door to door since January, I have heard specifically what people want from their councilman and from the government, and my service will reflect what they want.
Thank you for the question. I'm running because fundamentally, decades of privatization and developer handouts have left our city back in the past. When merger happened, the city sold off LG&E to a private corporation, and since then, people have been paying up to $500 a month in electricity bills. Currently, TARC is under attack, where we have private corporations wanting to fund these small, like zip card-like services to fulfill public transit needs. We have handouts to the tune of $114 million to private development groups like Jefferson Development Group, as JP running District 6 mentioned. Those are taxpayer dollars. And it's about time that we spend our money on addressing the needs of the people in our city. And the number 1 job of an elected official is not just to write policy and advocate for policy, but it's also to organize. We can only win these things if we organize. When I'm out there talking to folks on the doors every single day, there's not a single person I've talked to who says, I want to give more and more money to Jefferson Development Group. or to folks like Gil Holland, right? People want money for grocery stores. People want money to address the needs of their children. People want money for our schools and for public transportation, right? And the only way that we're going to win this is if we're organizing door to door and on the shop floor. So that's my
I'm running for District 4 because I know a lot of policies that has been changed. They're not utilizing now. Anything that you want done, you have to be on the feet of the ground with the people. The people is the one that counts. I mean, the people at Metro Council, they sit in Metro Council and they don't know nothing about what's going on out here. We are the ones that know what's going on out here. And we get out here with the people to work for the people. I'm a worker. I'm telling you, I'm a worker. And I'm going to tell you that you have to have a home. You live in a house, but you got to have a home. So we need to get together and build back a home to live in.
I'm running for Metro Council because I believe in giving back. When I look back as being a kid, I mean, I came through a fairly challenged childhood, and I look around at my friends who didn't make it. And sometimes I think God smiled and gave me a break, and I think it's an opportunity to repay that break. And so how do you do that? I've been fortunate. I've been able to get an education. I've been able to find leadership. And it was probably when I was in my young 20s, I met a man who kind of gave me some good path and good direction. And I just hope that in this role, that I have that same opportunity to do that for the people in Metro District 4.
Oh, thank you. How do you think that the housing problem at Doska Manor, Parkway Place, Park Duval should be addressed? Drugs, crime, rodents, insect-infected housing facilities.
So a lot of the problems that we're currently seeing in LMHA have been decades in the making. And that's the reason for that is because every single budget, the Metro Council and the decision makers vote to underfund the needs of the people that are in the public housing that deserve amenities just like every other community. I don't think that there should be any type of stigma, but especially we need to put money where our mouth is when it comes to improving the living conditions immediately. Plans have been enacted for decades, and the problem is that a plan just sits on a shelf if it's not funded. When we have properties that are public housing, we need to have amenities with the housing. We can't just have a parking lot and a building. We have to have food. We have to have shops. We have to have ways for second and third shift workers to be able to have night markets or ways to increase commerce and buy things for their families, even if they are not working traditional hours. And that is something that is sorely lacking downtown for our residents.
So I feel like that is a state of emergency. There's lots of open housing that these folks could have been moved into as temporary while these problems were addressed. I do think that they've been neglected in a sense of no one's paid attention, but maybe they haven't had a voice. And I think that all council members, their Metro Council members should have been their voice in speaking up for them. And that's what I would do.
Thank you. Being elected for Metro Council, I would hold HUD responsible.
Absolutely.
We need to sit and hold HUD responsible.
Absolutely.
The next person we have to hold responsible are
That's
the
right.
administrators of these properties.
That's
They know
right.
what's going on. They need to report it so that it can be addressed.
That's right.
Okay, I've been on the campaign trail very heavily here the past couple of weeks, and I have visited myself St. Catherine. I've been to Doska Manor. I've been to Avenue Plaza on 9th Street, and I'm appalled at what I've seen. You know, I was just there a couple of days ago, and their whole ceiling is caving in the community room. They can't even go out in their balconies and have a cookout, especially on a nice day like this. So, you know, this is a problem. I'm already working with the organization, actually, Black Lives Matter in Nishabu. They have started organizations to help support the residents because these places are rat infested. roaches and bed bugs. And being in healthcare, I know personally, because of course confidentiality, I see a lot of this all the time that comes in the doctor's office. So it's definitely a problem. We need to make sure that the funds are going exactly where they need to go when it comes to housing, remodeling, audit, hold people accountable, because that's exactly what evidently has been missed the past couple of years, because people are living in inhumane conditions, and it's ridiculous because on the other side of 9th Street Divide, they don't live like that. So of course, we need to change, we need to support organizations, and thank goodness that New Directions just got that $6 million grant. So hopefully when you fund organizations like this, we can do the right thing with it.
Very good.
District 4 contains more publicly funded housing than most districts do, so whoever wins this seat will need to pay special attention to that. Clearly, the Public Housing Authority in Louisville has been and continues to be a train wreck. We do have a new director now, but it has been awful. We need to have a top to bottom review, no holds barred, good, bad, and ugly. And we need to name names. So we need to have our own local version of what the Justice Department did for the police department. We need to make sure that that is an honest assessment, because it's the only way we can find out the exact problems, how they happen, who's responsible, and then correct it.
So regarding public housing in Louisville, if you go to any of the Louisville Metro Housing Authority meetings, you can review their minutes where you see meeting after meeting, they give hundreds of thousands of dollars away to private contractors. When residents are at these meetings demanding that money be spent on repairs and maintenance. The Housing Authority knows that these issues are there, they don't care. What we need to do is we need to actually democratize the Housing Authority. Right now, it's staffed by appointees, by the mayor. Those should be elected positions, that's the people's money, and the people should be deciding how it's spent. Additionally, we need to guarantee housing as a human right in this city. There's absolutely no reason in the richest city in Kentucky there should be a single person who should be living in such deplorable conditions with pests and with severe maintenance issues. It's a stain on our city, and the best way we can address it is ensure that that funding is in the hands of the folks who are going to be impacted by it to begin with.
Wonderful.
Well, Housing Authority, we had already asked for an investigation, it's been over 3 years ago, on what was going on in our neighborhoods. It just happened in Oscar Manor, and that just brought it on. But we had asked for an investigation on Housing Authority a long time ago, and they're just now doing it. I mean, council members has got its paperwork. They got the paperwork, but nobody responded. Nobody has responded to this day on everybody that needs to be investigated over the housing crisis, the way people live. No grocery stores. We are all here to help each other, and we're gonna have to get together and help each other. There's nothing gonna work unless we become organizers and organize, and everybody, every neighborhood, every district get together and try to make a difference.
That's good. The situation at our housing authority is deplorable. There's no reason the world somebody lives in the conditions that we're asking these people to live in. They are probably some of the most challenged people that do not have the opportunity to move out of there on their own, and we need to do that. Our leadership has absolutely failed us in this area. That's where Metro Council really counts. You need to look at the people that you're electing in Metro Council and be sure that they'll be accountable, that they'll look out for the people in this district, and especially in the low-income housing, or just our senior citizens. It's criminal what we're allowing people to live in. You need to hold your leaders responsible.
Thank you. Louisville has a problem with mental illness and drug addiction. What do you plan to do to combat this issue?
Not put houses in my neighborhood.
So for what I would like to do for anything that is on what is commonly known as the 9th Street Divide, otherwise the 65 Divide. That is one of the largest areas, specifically because the interstate has the one of the only permanent sources of shelter when it rains. That's the reason that you see so many people living under there. For me, what I think can be done immediately is by working with KYTC, working with the people that manage the space underneath I-65, and turn it into something that can be used for housing, for livable conditions, other than car parking and barbed wire fences and plywood and ways to keep people out. Because if we make an area hostile for a certain group, all that we're doing is making it hostile to every resident that lives in that neighborhood, because we don't want to see visible poverty. And that's really the root of it. We can fund all these smoke and mirrors, but long and short of it, people need food, people need a roof over their head, people need clean water. Thank you.
So mental health is one of my top priorities. For me, mental health doesn't encompass just one thing. So it doesn't matter if it's from dementia, if it's from the onset of drug use, or if it's from a trauma that's triggered. So I think just having resources, because you can't get better if you don't know that you have an issue. And I think if we're just going with houseless folks that may have mental issues, they also need resources. But I think that if they're not going to take those resources, we need to address that. And if that means an evaluation, if that means mental care that may be suggested highly, that's what we need to do.
As far as the homelessness goes, Louisville has a land bank, and they have land that can be used for homelessness. They can make more homeless cities where they can have tents, they can have an edifice built where they can have running water and a bathroom, and they don't have to be displaced. They're just holding on to that land and they're not doing anything with it. As far as the mental health, I think we need people that can go out and reach the mental health. Sometimes you have mental issues and you don't know you have mental issues. We had one man in my community that went and hit a little girl in the head, raped her, took her tablet. She's only like 8 years old. She probably will not survive that as an adult. Those type of things I hold the judge and the legal system accountable for. They should have placed him where he cannot get out and do that to other people anymore.
Keep them houses out of my neighborhood.
Mental illness for me hits home. For those who do know me, my name is Renee in the community, and for those who personally know me, know that my oldest son has mental illness. He's 23, and he went to Western Kentucky, and as most young adults, they like to have a good time. Well, during that good time and all my hard work throughout the years, my son decides, let me test like most of college students do, and he hasn't been right since. It was very hard for me because during the pandemic of 2020, can you imagine having a son with mental illness during a pandemic? No doctors' offices open, none of them open. The system is broken. The healthcare system needs to change. We quit putting medicines down people with mental illness and more therapeutic, holistic approach. Build a system of housing, counseling for families.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
For more than 2 decades, I oversaw the work downtown with the master program that the Downtown Partnership was on the street. I personally oversaw those folks, and we dealt with the folks that we're talking about every day. I learned to work hand in glove with the Healing Place, with Coalition for the Homeless, 7 county services, and other social service providers, so that we could learn in a very small way compared to the professionals how to handle folks and get them the help that they need. One thing that is absolutely clear is all those wonderful agencies and those trained professionals that do the work the best are woefully underfunded, and I would push to increase that funding a lot in the local government budget. A lot of those programs also go way beyond what local government can provide. So I would pledge to also work with the Jefferson County delegation to Frankfurt to get more funding from the state as well and from the governor's office so that we can properly fund these vulnerable people in the state's largest city.
I would just actually like to push back on that last point. Mental health and drug use is absolutely something that Metro Council can address, and I'll tell you why. Because the primary drivers of these outcomes is poverty, right? And so our number one focus should be on addressing the root causes of mental health outcomes and drug use, which is addressing poverty. In Louisville, we can guarantee that every one of our residents has a place to live. There are more empty, habitable homes in the city than there are homeless people. We can assure that everyone has access to electricity, right? We can take LG&E back under public control and ensure that people can cook their food. We can decriminalize drug use, right? So that people who are trying to cope with adverse economic situations are receiving help rather than prison sentences. These are all things that we can do here in the city of Louisville. And that's something that a Metro Council member should absolutely prioritize. That's what I will prioritize as your Metro Council member in District 4.
In District 4, I think that all of the apartments and everything that they're building should have a safe place. It also should have where people can go that have mental illness. If they know they have somewhere to go and can get help, I believe that they will go get help. I mean, there's nowhere. I had a lady that ran to my house with no clothes on. The police came and thanked me for giving this lady clothes and shoes because there was nowhere else to go. She's running down the street butt naked, you know, and beat up. She could have ran somewhere if it was a safe place. There's no safe places for people to go. You have to have that at night. That's when most of the stuff happens, at night. And that's where they need to go, have a place to go at night. During the day, they got everywhere to go, but after 5 o'clock, where they gonna go?
I mentioned earlier about challenges growing up, and one of those was that my mom did have mental illness and addiction issues. And the only way she ever got better was the long-term stay. And so we need to look at transitional housing. I'm not talking about the conditional use permit. I'm talking about places where you can put people in a long-term situation to where they have the wraparound resources that can get them treated. We don't need to criminalize it. The jail is not a place to receive any of those services. So let's look at our transitional rooms. Let's get the people the wraparound services that they need. It's not that difficult. We have the facilities available. We need to fund the resources to make sure people get the treatment.
10 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, as you're aware, Louisville is under a consent decree. With the LMPD, once elected, how will you deal with the issue, and are you willing to work across party lines in partnership with the LMPD to solve these problems?
So part of the reason that we are in so many of these problems is because of the LMPD. I just want to be very, very upfront about that. The consent decree was absolutely awful to read. And the problems is that every generation of people in Louisville has had some story or some history of being demonized by the LMPD. As an openly queer person, I could have been arrested for decades just by existing in public. And you know that if I'm elected, I want to make sure that no tax money can be spent on weaponry and ways to criminalize people for existing. For me, I want to make sure that the rights of people, especially houseless, are not violated by these new state laws that are being funded. And I want to make sure that we are able to make sure that every resident, and that includes houseless, are protected from these state laws, because how much of our taxes are going to be funded to criminalize people that were not criminals before?
Thank you.
So the DOJ report has been the excuse for why the police are not doing their job, and that needs to be addressed. We absolutely need to fill the 200 plus vacancies on the police force. But with that said, police need to be held accountable for when they do wrong and disrespect, and we need to understand why the Kentucky average of incarcerations is higher than the national average when the amount of crime is lower than the national average. So diving into those details would tell us a lot about what is actually happening that they're not presenting in the decree.
Thank you.
The DOJ brought to attention what we already knew. What we need to do is take action on that.
That's it.
One of the things I found, if they're gonna spend money, then spend it to have educational classes to teach police how to approach people, how to talk to people, how to handle people. Also, another thing they need to do is be able to live in the community that you're policing. Get out of that car, walk and meet the people that you are serving. We are human beings.
So it's pretty much as simple as this. We've had problems with the police in this city for decades, way before I was born. There is no trust in the Black community. There is no trust in these poor communities. What it basically is a systematic racism and a generational racism throughout the police department for many, many years. It is a cultural fact, it is a known fact that we have been fighting, right? So a lot of it, when it comes to funding, training. If you want to be a police officer, we're going to hold you accountable to make sure that you are representing this whole city and representing these neighborhoods as you should when you go in and swear your badge. So that's why we have the table. Shout out to Bishop Lyons, because I believe in community policing anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The DOJ report was certainly horrific reading, but I don't think it was specific enough. We don't need to know who Judge A is and Officer B are. We want their names. We need to know, are they still on the bench? Are they still employed? And if so, why? And I think the mayor asked that question when he got that. I'm not aware that he's gotten those answers. The two officers, for example, that were filming themselves throwing drinks at people and hitting them and laughing about it, why were they not unemployed 5 minutes after someone in charge saw that video? Why did it take so long to get rid of them? Why was Officer Hankinson, who shot up everything in the Breonna Taylor incident, why did every good cops that I know that he was a bad cop for 15 years?
Absolutely.
Why was he still there? That's the problem. The good cops that I have worked with for 20 years in my various positions do not want the people like that being the poster children for police. They shouldn't be, but if they are allowed to stay, then they become that, and the community will never be able to trust the cops again. We have to have trust in order for us to have a civil society.
Thank you for your response. I'd also like to echo my good friend JP's comments. I'm in support of Councilwoman Shamika Parrish Wright's People's Consent Decree, which outlines the fact that we need to, number one, first and foremost, stop spending extra money on our police department. LMPD currently has $250 million, and with corrections that accounts for 40% of our budget. They only have 1,600 sworn-in civilian employees. How does that make any sense? Over the last 20 years, we've more than doubled our spending on these agencies, and our cities are not any safer for it, right? The way we can address the horrific details of the consent decree start with holding LMPD accountable in real ways, right? We need to take money from LMPD and put it in things that will actually make us safer where police do not, right? We're talking about housing. We're talking about public ownership of our utilities. We are talking about food access in food deserts like Smoketown, Russell, community and grocery stores. These are the things that make us safer. Not extra money on police officers who seem to can't even file a correct warrant. So.
I think that the police should live in each neighborhood that they represent. If you live here, then that's where you work. So your neighbors can get to know you, so you can be as equal as they are and know their children like they did when I was growing up. I mean, we knew Drain, we knew Shelby Lanier, we knew all of our police officers because they was part of our family. I mean, if you got in trouble, they gonna take you home. They not gonna lock you up. And then your parents will have them to lock you up. So, if you did something, worse. So, there's a lot of things that need to be changed, like the DOJ. They should come into the neighborhoods, want to live in these neighborhoods, help build up these neighborhoods, spend some of the money that they're getting in these neighborhoods, and make it a better neighborhood.
The DOJ report was incredibly embarrassing, and it was a stain on Louisville that's going to take us a long time to remove. But the problems in the police department go way back before the DOJ report came out. So we can't allow. We have to hold our leaders again accountable. We have to make sure you have the right people in these seats that's not worried about party lines. We don't represent Republicans, Independents, Democrats. We represent the people in the district. And you have to understand what's going on within that district and make sure our police officers are doing the right thing, have the proper equipment, have the correct leadership in place, are trained. We need to get back to community policing, and we need to look more at our deflection programs, which are great. You have social workers making some of these calls as opposed to just police officers. A lot of these situations can be derailed long before a police officer gets involved. So again, deflection and community policing. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Okay, in 2019, Councilman DeGory Arthur led the way filing a resolution in support of H.R. 40, the study of reparations. Are you in favor of supporting an ordinance that supports economic reparations, a plan for descendants of enslaved blacks or descendants of American slaves of Louisville, Kentucky? Why or why not?
Yes, absolutely, unequivocally. I'm a 6th or 7th generation Kentuckian, and that comes with a terrible amount of historical baggage. I think that it is a right for every person in Kentucky should be able to fund some type of reparations for the atrocities that have been committed for 2 centuries or more. And specifically, also, I'd like to bring the Native American representation as well. We have multiple homestead parks that are named for the tribes whose lands we stole, and there's no historical markings. There's nothing that actually explains what an Iroquois tribe was, Cherokee. We name the roads, but we don't do anything else. And, you know, the thing about it is that, like, we also need to realize that land is being actively taken away through government policy, and it is our time to take that land back and bring it to the people. And so that is why I'm in support of reparations.
Thank you, sir.
So yes, I am also in favor of reparations, and I would also work to define the calculation for the allocation and disbursement of those funds.
What's his name?
Robert.
I'm in favor of the reparations. What I would say for reparations is give us our 40 acres and a mule. We want what's belongs to us. Give it to us. We can then buy our own grocery stores. We can buy our own houses. We don't have to depend on the banks to give us the funding. Give us our due. Every other ethnicity that has been wrong has received justice. We want ours.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you know, I definitely, yes, come on now. I wouldn't be wearing this shirt. That's what we stand for in this organization. What are you talking about? You know, United States have stole gold, they have stole land, they have killed, they have lynched, and they have raped people. Why do you think African Americans have basically where we're sitting at right now when it comes to income? It's not that we cannot be successors. It's been stolen from us. Wealth has been stolen. When wealth is stolen, generational wealth is stolen. I know personally, even with my own family. My great-grandmother had a house in Tennessee, and a white man stole their land. And today we are still fighting because they put a highway on it. And we want it back. That increases the wealth in the family.
Thank you.
So, of course, reparations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our country has never fully atoned for the original sin of slavery, and anything we can do to help push us toward that goal, I would be in favor of, and I would support Councilman Arthur's legislation. The question is what it is and how you pay for it, how you implement it, and that in reparations, that can mean a million things to a million people, and so that's what we have to look at. Two examples, recent years, the city of Evanston, Illinois, implemented a housing loan fund that was meant to, in part, be reparations for past sins. The Georgetown University in DC, the great university now, back in the early days, actually owned slaves and profited from them. And in fact, when they were about to go under financially, they sold their slaves in 1838 in order to save themselves. And so they, in recent years as well, have come up with a multi-decade program to pay that back to descendants of the folks that they mistreated and sold off to save themselves. So we need to do something. What it is the details to come, but yes, we should pursue that.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm absolutely in support of reparations. As a descendant, a direct descendant of enslaved folks, my great-great-grandfather, Ellie Crowder, was a sharecropper, actually, after my family was released from slavery. I 100% support reparations for the hundreds of years of the sin of slavery that Black folks in America were subjected to, but also for the disastrous war on drugs, which we have seen unfolding in the last 40 years. And speaking on the resolution that came out of Evanston that Ken mentioned, that was specifically targeted towards reparations on the war on drugs for Black Evansonians who were victimized by Evanston Police Department for all manners of egregious crimes, many of the things that we saw here in Louisville during the recent consent decree. As a matter of fact, I was actually in Evanston during that time at Northwestern. So these things can work here, right? They've worked, like Ken mentioned, in DC, they've worked in Evanston, they've worked in Oakland.
10 seconds.
Yeah, and they should look like cash payments, they should look like land
right.
back.
That's right.
And they should look like guaranteed housing.
Yeah.
And I am definitely for reparations. I have went and got some property back that belonged to my family. And just the other day, they gave me another property that belonged to a cousin. You have to go and let them know that they took it.
Yeah.
And you have to demand it back. They want you to pay for it. You shouldn't have to pay for something they took from you. And when they give it back to you, they should give it all back to you, not just the land. They need to build the houses back. They tore those houses down. So reparations is not even gonna be enough.
That's right.
I don't think that's gonna be enough.
That's right. That's
We
right.
need to be talking about something else other than reparations.
That's right.
Give us our property back and then let's talk.
That's right. That's right.
You know, the bill addresses the study of reparations, and so we do need to look at that. You know, I'm not gonna sit there and tell you that I had descendants who were slaves. I'm not gonna sit there and tell you that I had to go through redlining, deplorable acts that need to be made right. And what's that look like? I'm not sure. Is it cash payments? I don't know. Is it programs that levels the playing field and makes it right for you once we're absolutely not. No, we need to get people back to where it's made right for what was taken away in the beginning. We can do that. We can do it through reparations. We need to work on the program. We need to make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to be taking some questions from the audience. I am a U of L student. Programs, initiative, and diversity, equity, and inclusion are under attack by our own state legislators. What would you do to protect diversity, equity, and inclusion in Louisville, Kentucky?
So first and foremost, there are people and groups and organizations across the District 4 community that are actively doing the work. Lady Cousins Collective comes to mind for being able to share that knowledge, but most importantly, we have to push back as a Metro body. We have to actually have a backbone in Metro, something that is very few and far between, it seems like. We have to take a stand when it comes to this, because otherwise, what is next? Because you know they're not stopping. This momentum is only going to keep going until there's enough brakes to push back and actually go the other direction. Because, you know, like a jail, you know, none of this is built for just one group. It's just a matter of who's on the chopping block next. And we all have to organize and make sure that we are actively pushing back against this. So I fully support making a stand on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Thank you, sir.
We also need to stop stacking bills. You know, the perfect example is House Bill 5 or 6, where you got 3 strikes, you're out, House Bill 5. And free strikes are out, and you're also putting in homelessness all in one bill. It's separate, right? So they try to bury what they feel is less important with something that people will vote for. So we need to make sure that we are being transparent about everything that's in the bill that we're voting on.
Thank you.
Being a black woman, and many of the black women that are here, we are affected by not being included, having equity. I think one of the things that we have to do is we have to create an organization that looks out for those aspects that we are talking about, and not let it be that they made this organization so that they can get paid from different entities. We need an organization that will look out for that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna fight like hell. That's what I'm gonna do. I don't know about anybody else up here, regardless if I get this seat or not, I'm gonna fight like hell, and that's exactly what I've been doing. I'm in partnership with JCPS. I have, for the past couple of months, I have talked to young people at Sacred Heart Academy. I have been at the Coleman Academy. I have been at TJ Middle School. I have been at the Play Cousins Collective. I don't play when it comes to young people, and I don't play about education, because education is power, education is knowledge, and we have to make sure that we continue education to make sure that is the best investment for the next investment to the next in future, because where I'm at is where I want somebody else to be at fighting for me.
What we have to do in government or education is first, if we believe in DEI, that we live it every day in our own lives. We set that example, we make sure that others around us that may fall short know what the example should be, and we put that in public policy. I don't know how exactly right now we can get around some of the draconian measures in these bills. We'll have to study that. There are ways to get around them, but if you make it illegal to teach a certain thing, then you're breaking the law. And so we have to figure out how to get around that. We've done it before in the past when we've had that kind of legislation locally, statewide, or nationally. We figured it out until we got better people in office. And in Kentucky, unfortunately, our state legislature is something of a lost cause, so we're going to have to do it locally, or go above their heads, and do it from the federal level.
Thank you.
Like just about every issue we talked about tonight, attacks on DEI from Frankfurt are about destabilizing our workforce, right? When folks like myself, who look like me, can't afford or can't get into school to become educated, then the only option we have left is to work labor jobs, right? Just like the vast majority of bills that get passed in Frankfurt, there are enormous corporations and private development groups that are lobbying on their behalf. That's right. Right? And so the very first thing we need to do, and the thing we must be always doing, is organize, door to door with our neighbors and on the shop floor. We need to be forming unions as well. We need to ensure that the black representation that we have on Metro Council remains black, right? We have a select few majority black districts in the city who are under attack, right? The most recent redistricting effort,
Absolutely.
Was targeted specifically black representation in the city of Louisville. These are the things that we need to fight back against, right? We need to be supporting primary challengers to legislators who are playing ball with Republicans in Frankfurt and Republicans here in Louisville. We need to be challenging anti-DEI folks wherever they show up, and it's just another stand-in for racism. It was critical race theory a couple of years ago. It was, 50 years ago it was the N-word. So.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
I think that we need to be more involved in the schools to find out everything that's going on in schools. Then go to Frankfurt and ask them to go and be involved in schools to see how stuff is going on in school. Because they don't know. They don't have kids in school. They have grandkids maybe, but they don't have kids in school, so they don't know exactly what they need, what we need. So I think with that being said, we just need to get involved more.
Thank you.
Sometimes it's really tough living in the city of Louisville and the state of Kentucky. Our state of Kentucky does not always represent our best interest here in Louisville. They believe in something called home rule, which means local government, until they don't. And this is another one of those situations where they don't do what's in the best interest of Louisville, Kentucky. We talk about education, and we need to be more involved. We need to look at some of our supplemental programs. You have the Scholar House that's doing fantastic work. I'd rather be reading that does fantastic work. You have Youth Build that does fantastic work. And much like Mr. Crowder has pointed to, we need to look at our schools and say, is everybody a four-year student? And a lot of kids are not. They need to have some direction more toward vocational trades. And that's where you really help a lot of kids. You need to educate the counselors to get the kids going in the right direction. So, DEI, it's never one of those things, it just gets convoluted, it gets kind of lost in the terminology. You see a lot of people kind of hide behind it, you see people not doing the right thing. But at the end of the day, we need to kind of get our local rule here and make sure we're doing what's best for Louisville, Kentucky.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. What is your position on faith-based organization as a Metro Council person?
So for me, as a queer individual, growing up in Kentucky was traumatizing. I was raised Appalachian Methodist. I'm the first one in my family to grow up in the city, and I had to hide a lot of who I was because I was worried about being kicked out of my community. And so I know that that is not every church. I want to do my part to outreach to the churches. To that point, I've had some communities that do not really want to talk to me, and that's okay. I understand it's different for everybody, but when I'm in council, I want to make sure that I do hear every voice. And we might not agree on everything, but I want to be treated like a person, and I will treat everybody the way I am treated. And so I really hope that we can work together with the faith-based groups and hope to bridge this divide, because honestly, we are stronger together when we organize. And as somebody who is queer and has the faith, it is something that I want to be.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So being raised Southern Baptist and Christian, I just want to leave out the church. A lot of the problems that we have is because kids today don't fear anything. They don't fear the Lord. They don't fear the parents. And I think that is built in the church. As far as the community, I think there's a lot of leaders in the church. And I don't think it's just the mega churches. I think that there are leaders at all levels, all sizes of churches. And Metro Council members and other city officials should reach out to those leaders for their opinion, their insight, and their help.
Thank you so much.
The question was, what is your position on faith-based organization as a Metro Council person? Meaning, how do you...
role do they play?
Yes. And what role do you see as far as faith-based organizations? You want a clarification, Bishop?
Yeah.
The Metro Council has a problem. The present Metro Council has had a problem over the years of really reaching out to the faith-based, especially in our community, as far as supporting things that the churches and the faith-based organization would like to do. I'd like to just know what is your position on cooperating and reaching out to the faith-based community, as well as allocating resources and partnershiping with different entities in the community, the faith community.
I believe that Metro government should be able to reach out to faith-based organizations. All things that are created is created under one God, and we need to reach out. Who has more outreach than religious organizations? People come in by the groves. So yes, I think they should be funded. I think that they should support them. And I think with that, we can go a lot farther than where we are right now.
Thank you.
I'm a woman of faith, and that's simple as that. Church has always been a core solution of the neighborhood. I think it is very important that Metro Council make sure that they reach out to churches in these neighborhoods, and we need to get rid of the liquor stores and make sure that everyone is exactly where they need to be, and that is in church, and providing the resources and the tools that they need and the funding that they need. Because you gotta remember that when it comes to the village and the root, the church is the temple of that. This is not about control. But what we can control is, if I'm elected, I want to make sure that we continue to make sure that we fund the interfaith ocean initiatives that they recently started with churches. So yes, I think it's very important.
Thank you.
We have in this country a separation of church and state, and we should. We also have a long, rich tradition of faith-based organizations working in partnership with government and neighbors, and we should. The teachings of Jesus, whether you go to church or not, whether you're a believer or not, the teachings of Jesus are pretty good rules to live by. And if we apply those rules to the way we govern, if we believe that we all have a covenant with one another, then I believe that we will form much better policies that will serve more people properly. And I would do that as the councilman.
Thank you.
As Ken mentioned, one of the founding tenets of our country are the separation of church and state. I'm in no way opposed to our faith-based community leaders doing the work that they do, but it should not come at the expense of our publicly funded services. That is something that we must absolutely not sacrifice. In 2001, when the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives was established by the George Bush administration, hundreds of billions of dollars of taxpayer dollars were pulled from public services that were saving lives and getting people off of the street into homes and gave them to churches. And you know, here in Louisville, for example, I was just canvassing on Chestnut Street. There are 3 halfway houses on one street.
I promise you.
There are 3 halfway houses on one street, and we are still struggling with adverse mental health issues and drug issues in our community. We need publicly funded services to address these issues. We need professionals who are trained to address these issues. We need infrastructure to address these issues. You know, and as much as I appreciate the work of the church, I was raised in church. You know, my mother was a pastor. They cannot take the place of our public services.
And I work in the churches, in the neighborhoods, just not in the California neighborhood, but in all neighborhoods, even Newburgh. These churches do help. We have churches that do help, but we have some that help us not to get help. I mean, I'm serious. They help us not to get help. I mean, they can give the money, they're supposed to help us. They don't help us, they help themselves. So the churches that actually help us, those are the churches that we need to address. The ones that don't, they have enough money now that they done got off the bus to maintain the rest of their life. Let's just be real about it. Put the money in the people's hands. Put the money in the organization's hands. And let them do the work.
Bishop Lyons.
Ducky, quack, quack.
Thank you. Bishop Lyons has the perfect model of the bishop's table every Friday morning, 9 a.m. He does this without looking out and seeking for any government money. He does it because it's the right thing. It's a perfect combination of church and then bringing all the community services together. And nobody's looking for a dime to do that. So we can lean on that model, learn from that model, get other churches to embrace that model, and we'll be in good shape.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let me just, we got to get down here at 8:30, someone has something to say, but on April the 4th at 6:30 at King Solomon Baptist Church, it's with, that's with Reverend Dr. Charles Elliott. You know, April 4th is 1968 when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. And they have a program and dinner is provided. And it will be April 4th at King Solomon at 6:30 and 1620. Now, I do want to give each person an opportunity just to give your contact. So, especially for those who are listening in the streamlining, because we got some, I'm sorry we was not able to get to all the questions, but it was very fruitful for what we heard from our candidates. Those who didn't show because it's so important after you leave here to energize you to call and make sure people get out and vote on May 21st, because some will be their only last chance to hold a seat, and then in November to come back. So I want to thank everybody. I'm gonna have Kathleen have the last say. But at this time, can we just go down the line right quick and give your contact information in case somebody questions was not answered, they can contact you and ask the question later.
Of course. So again, my name is Jody Dahmer, Jody. The email address is team@jody4.com. My website is jody4.com. I also run the Louisville Seed Bank. If anybody needs vegetable seeds, please come to some of our monthly swaps. I love to find community partners. Thank you.
My website is votebridgetsmith.com, and my phone number is 502-599-3316, or you can also reach me at 502-324-7517.
My Facebook is Vote for Carol Clark, and my email is clark.carol616@gmail.com.
All right, I have flyers and business cards with me, and I also have a QR code here, so if you want to scan all my information here, my website is www.denisharivers.com. That is DENNISHA rivers.com, and I'm also on Facebook, YouTube, and the X, and also Instagram, Denisha Rivers for Metro Council District 4.
Sorry. I also have business cards, not quite enough for everybody in the room, but my email address is kenherndonllc@hotmail.com. My website is www.kenforcouncil.com. My personal cell number, 502-817-2766.
Thank you everyone for your time tonight again. My name is Joshua Crowder. You can reach me at my email address, crowder4LOU @gmail.com. You can also reach me on Facebook, Twitter, I guess X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at crowder4LOU. You can also, we have literature in the back there. Just talk to Hallie. Or Jonah right there, standing up on the chair, very helpful. Thank you, Jonah. You can also reach me at my personal cell phone number, 502-438-8848. If you want to talk to me about our race, the issues in your neighborhood, or if you want help forming a union or talking to your coworkers in the workplace, feel free to reach out to me or find me down at my local union hall, 3813 Taylor Boulevard. Thank you.
My phone number is 502-644-3442. And Miss Danita Wright has some literature back there. She has my email on it, so.
That's very home.
Yeah, very home. District 4.
My name's Stan Moore. My phone number is 502-836-7826. Best email is stan@stanmoore for 4. It's STANMOOREFOR and the number 4.com, or you can type it stanmoore0816@gmail.com. Please do call me. I'd like to come meet you, meet your groups, talk with you anytime you want to. And I love you. I definitely appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Let's hear it for the candidates. Thank you so much. Let's hear it for our moderator.
I also just want to say I'm so glad that everybody came out. I'm so happy to see all your beautiful faces. I talked with each and every one of these candidates. We all have different views, but I just want to say that each and every one of them have beautiful souls. Go out there, spread positivity today. Make sure, I'm glad you guys came out, happy you guys came out, but I love you all. That's all I want to say. All right.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to make an announcement. Next month, April, the last Saturday.
Si no haces nada más.